Hi, 8th grade. I'm back again. This is part 2 of talking about the periodic table of the elements. Again, you need to be on pages 84 and 85 in your textbook. And to begin, again, just a quick review. I mentioned that there are 7 rows on the periodic table. Those rows are called periods, which is how the periodic table got its name. The one thing that I forgot to mention is you notice they've taken 2 rows out of the periodic table. One's called the lanthanides and the other is called the actinides. The reason those are pulled out of the periodic table is because if they were in the table itself, the table would no longer be able to fit on this page. It would shove everything to the right. In my case, it would probably be in the next several rooms of our house, which would be kind of ridiculous. It would also be hard to talk about the periodic table from there. So you'll notice that on all periodic tables, they pull the lanthanides and the actinides out because that's where they actually belong on the table, but because of the fact that it would cause the table to expand too much, they pull them out and put them at the bottom. The other things that I had mentioned already is the color coding. We had just finished talking about those green elements on the right-hand side. Those are called the metalloids. Those are both metals and non-metals. And I told you if you really look closely in your book, you'll see a little yellow staircase underneath those green boxes. That staircase separates the metals from the non-metals. And the other thing that I had talked about is everything to the left of the table is very unstable, and as you get closer to the middle of the table, all of a sudden it becomes more and more stable. Next thing I want to talk about, you'll notice there are columns going up and down, vertical columns. There are 18 of them on your periodic table. In the next lesson, lesson 3, we're going to talk about the names of those vertical columns because they have some special names to them. Let me just tell you that the higher you are in that vertical column, the more unstable the element is. And as you get further to the bottom, they become more and more stable. One of the most unstable elements on the right-hand side is in vertical column number 17. And by the way, those vertical columns are called groups or families. So there are 18 groups or families on the periodic table. There are 7 rows or periods on the periodic table. The most unstable vertical column element is number 17, and it's right underneath vertical column 17. It's number 9, atomic number 9, which is fluorine. Just a quick review also, all these boxes that you see on the periodic table. I told you that the right-hand corners, that's the atomic number, which is the number of protons. The atomic mass, which is a combination of particles, right? We talk it, or sometimes called the atomic weight. That's the decimal point numbers on the bottom. Okay, those are the decimal point numbers on the bottom. And you'll notice some are rounded off in parentheses, and that's because it's an average number of isotopes. And so it's not an exact number because it can vary based on the number of isotopes that it has. Vertical column going up and down, 18, the very last column, those are your noble gases or your inert gases. They don't combine with anything. That's things like helium, which they use in balloons, neon, argon, krypton, which they use in lighting of signs, xenon, radon. All of those are considered basically inert gases or noble gases. I mentioned to you in part 1 there's 2 liquids on your periodic table. One is number 35, which is bromine, and the other is number 80 on your periodic table, and it's mercury. Mercury is a metal, bromine is a non-metal because it's to the right of the staircase. All right, anything to the right is considered a non-metal, everything to the left is considered a metal. You'll notice the symbols, you'll notice the element names on there, and that pretty much gives you a quick survey of the periodic table and what I thought would be important, at least for you to know initially about the periodic table. One quick joke before I leave. What did one metal say to the other metal? I'm sorry if I led you astray.